Hi, I'm Mike. Projects pile up, and some days, like today, you can feel a little bit overwhelmed. When that happens, I found the best thing to do is just dive in. Pick one and go for it. Knock something off your project list today on our Wyoming Life. Hi, and thanks for joining me today on our Wyoming Life. Every Tuesday we take a look at this big board behind me, and as well as adding projects to it, we try to cross some off. If this is your first time here, thanks for coming along to explore the ranch life with us. Please subscribe and escape the ordinary as we bring you everything from the ranch, the cows, the gardens, to ranch-style cooking, and a whole lot more. Before we get started today, I want to let you in on a whole new thing that we are starting here on our Wyoming Life, and that is the herd report. Head over to our website, ourwylife.com, and right there on the front page you can sign up to receive our weekly newsletter filled with news from the ranch, a personal letter from Erin or myself, bloopers, behind-the-scene videos, and much more. Our first edition will be coming out on Monday, so sign up so you don't miss the chance to get even closer to the ranch. So today, I'm suffering from what I like to call a motivational crisis. There's a lot to be done, no emergencies today, and sometimes those are the hardest days to get going. You know, when you have an emergency, you start, an emergency staring you in the face, I guess a broken fence or a water line or something like that. It's kind of the kick in the pants that you need to get moving. And once you are moving, then things seem to flow, for me anyway. It's a cool 25 degrees outside. The wind chill is down to about 15. The cows are fed, the pigs are fed, everybody has water, and today the ranch is working like a well-oiled machine. I don't have to work outside if I don't want to, so today we're going to spend some time in the shop. First, we're going to clean a little bit. Then we're going to take a look at the Gator, which has a low idle issue. With being so busy outside lately, the shop tends to get neglected. Tools don't get put away and things start to pile up. As we move closer to spring, we're going to need it to be organized and clean to work on other things. So cleaning the shop is a good place to start. In addition, it'll give me a chance to give you a bit of a tour of the shop. The shop is where most things start and stop here on the ranch. Every day I come to the shop, I start getting my day in order. My projects lined out. It's kind of like my office. As I clean and put stuff away, let me give you the dime tour. The main shop itself is a 60 by 40 foot heated building. We keep the temperature in here about 45 degrees. The feeding tractor lives in here all winter long, along with a majority of the tools that we use on the ranch, including the Gator, which we're going to get out of the way for right now. The shop has two roll-up garage doors, both 16 feet wide and 12 feet tall, allowing us to move vehicles in and out easily. With the electric openers, well, those are a huge help when you have to get in here quickly with a down calf or something else, as we use the main shop as a staging area during calving. We nurse calves back to health in here before moving them back out to the barn. As you probably do with your office, I like to fill the shop with memories, and all over the place, hanging on the walls, you will find different pieces of memorabilia that probably don't mean much without context. This is a picture of my father-in-law, Gilbert. He's what brought us to the ranch in the first place. When he got sick, Erin and I left our 9-to-5 jobs and came here, starting over, and eventually finding a life that we love and couldn't imagine living without. We started our family, and I believe that without Gilbert in our lives, we'd truly be lacking something. He passed away in 2012, and before he did, I made a promise to him to keep this going and protect the one thing that he cared about more than anything else in his life, the ranch. So his picture hangs over us every day as a reminder of a promise. On the same wall, some of the things that really do remind me of him: an old horse hitch from a wagon that he loved, or some antique logging equipment, a small windmill that I built our first year here and put on the ranch. Gilbert loved windmills. Eventually, the wind blew it apart, but I managed to save the head portion of it. Over here is a toilet seat, and that one may take a little bit of explaining. Our second winter here, we went out to feed one day and found a cow with her head stuck in a toilet. Gilbert had built a small outhouse, and this cow had found it, and because cows are curious creatures, she of course stuck her head in it. After a few hours work, we did get it off her, and it's lived on the wall ever since. You really never know what's going to happen around here. Now that I think about it, pretty much everything on these walls has some tie back to Gilbert. Being an old rancher, he never was much for travel, but one year he did visit France, and he came home with this pitchfork, which he told me was actually grown by a French artisan, bending and forming the branches of a small tree until the rough shape of a pitchfork was created. Then he cut down the tree and finished it by sanding it down. The sombreros were given to him by Mexicans friends of his, and the sled was his when he was a kid. This, Gilbert told me, was made by his dad back in the 30s, and it's a snake catcher. He used it when he was a kid to catch rattlesnakes. I'm really not sure what for, but I guess kids back then didn't have iPads, and I'm sure it kept him busy. The shop also houses a small kitchen, which Erin utilizes a lot during growing season to store and process vegetables. All of our freezers for beef and pork are located in the shop as well. Erin's been collecting gallon milk jugs over the winter for her spring growing, where she fills them with water and she uses them to retain heat in the high tunnel, placing them between plants. One touch of mine in the shop is the license plate collection. Somewhere along the line, I started gathering old license plates that I found around the ranch. Old ranchers used to save them for scrap tin. They'd use them to patch things. And I found a website with the original colors of some of the old license plates, so some of them I even repainted. Okay, now with the shop looking a little bit better, we can actually get something done. The Gator has been running a little bit rough lately. The idle's been running too low of RPMs, and when it's cold outside, it really doesn't want to stay running. So I'm afraid that the idle controller is bad. And with everything being electronic on it, including fuel injection, it may require a trip to the John Deere dealer. But one way I can check it out is to open up the engine compartment and take a look and see what's going on. In order to get to the engine, however, we have to take off the cake feeder, removing the connection to the battery and using the bobcat to slide it out of the back of the Gator. Once it's out, then we can take a look at the engine itself by raising the bed. After consulting the internet, one culprit might be a fuel leak, although it might have been an easier fix if it was a fuel leak. After taking a look, there doesn't seem to be any fuel leaking anywhere. So much for the easy fix. Another thing that might be causing the issue is a clogged fuel filter. I keep a cabinet full of fuel, oil, and air filters, all for the tractors and the Gators. And I think I might just have one. To remove the old fuel filter, you actually have to take quite a few steps. It's a high pressure fuel system, so we first disconnect the power to the fuel pump and run the engine until the engine dies, taking the pressure off of the fuel line. Then we can remove the old fuel filter, which is kind of buried in here. And once we get it off, which isn't easy, we can replace it with a new one. After reconnecting the fuel pump, we can fire it up. And it looks like we're still having the same issue. It could be a failing fuel pump, or maybe it could be the idle controller, and it might just need a trip to the John Deere dealer after all. Looks like it's going to need some more investigation. It's always something, and this one gets put back on the list. Luckily, the Gator is running. The idle's just low, it's not a detrimental situation, and I can keep working on it as I have time. I guess that's how it goes. You win some, you lose some. At least the shop is cleaner. Thanks for hanging out with me today, and I had fun taking you around the shop and showing you some of the history of things around here. I struck out with the Gator, but that's okay. You live to fight another day. More on the way this week, as Erin is all set to start her planting of her seedlings, getting ready for some early spring gardening and transplanting in the high tunnel. Coming up on Sunday, we have another ranch video, this week featuring an animal here on the ranch that doesn't get a whole lot of attention, but brings us a lot of joy, the peacock. Be sure to subscribe on our website to the Herd Report, and we'll see you soon. Until then, have a great week, and thanks for joining us in our Wyoming Life.